The desert was silent. No wind, no sound. Only the strange black structure that stood in the middle of the red sand. For centuries, no one had been able to open it. The aliens called it the Forbidden's Chamber. To them, it was not just stone and metal. It was alive, and it rejected all who tried to enter. Many had come before: scientists, soldiers, priests. They brought machines, lasers, even living sacrifices. Nothing worked. The seal was too strong, too ancient. Every time someone touched it, the glowing symbols pushed them away with violent force. But then, a rumor spread. A whisper across colonies. The seal did not respond to alien hands. But to human hands it moved. That was why Ethan Hawley was standing in front of it now. A lone human, breathing hard, staring at the glowing barrier that had humiliated entire civilizations. The aliens surrounding him stayed at a distance. They whispered in their strange tongues, their many eyes glowing with fear. Some wanted him to try. Others wanted him to run. The air smelled of burnt stone. The symbols on the chamber flickered, as if they were waiting. Ethan raised his hand. Careful. The alien commander barked, her voice shaking. No one survives the first touch. He ignored her. His palm brushed against the surface. The chamber trembled. For the first time in centuries, the seal did not burn the one who touched it. It pulsed under his skin, warm and alive, like a heart beating inside the wall. The aliens gasped. Some fell to their knees. Ethan felt a force pressing into his hand, like the chamber was. Curious, it studied him. His pulse quickened. He pulled. His hand back, the glow dimmed. The tremble stopped. It was waiting. Ethan wiped sweat from his forehead. He turned to the alien commander. Her eyes were wide, but her jaw was set in anger. You see? She hissed. It responds to you. But you do not understand what that means. What does it mean? Ethan asked, his voice steady. She did not answer. Instead, she whispered to her guards in their tongue. The guards shifted nervously, gripping their weapons. Ethan looked back at the chamber. The surface was black and smooth, except for the glowing seal shaped like a spiral. The spiral was incomplete, like a lock waiting for a key, and he knew. He was the key. He stepped closer. This time, both hands touched the surface. The symbols flared bright blue. The sand shook under their feet. A low hum filled the air, deep and ancient. It crawled into their bones. Ethan clenched his jaw. He could feel the seal resisting. It didn't want to open easily. It wanted to test him. Pain shot through his arms. His skin burned, but he did not let go. The spiral shifted, slowly, painfully. A thin crack of light appeared at the center. The aliens shouted, some in awe, some in terror. Stop! The commander screamed. Her voice was almost pleading now. You don't know what's inside. Ethan did not stop. The ground split, sending waves of sand into the air. The light from the crack grew stronger, blinding white. And then, it stopped. The seal froze, half open. The glow dimmed, leaving only the sound of silence. Ethan staggered back, breathing hard. His hands were red, his veins glowing faintly. He looked at the chamber in disbelief. It had opened. But only a little. The commander stepped forward, her claws trembling. She studied him, her eyes narrow. You are different, she whispered. Human hands, they are the chosen hands. Her words sent a chill down Ethan's spine. Chosen for what? He asked. She did not answer. Behind them, the desert wind began to rise for the first time in hours. It carried with it a sound, not the sound of air, but a whisper. A voice, low and ancient, seeping from the crack in the chamber. Ethan turned his head slowly. The whisper grew louder. It was not words. It was hunger. The aliens backed away in fear, some dropping their weapons. The commander stayed, her eyes locked on Ethan. You should not have touched it, she said. Ethan clenched his fists. The Whisper was inside his head now, crawling like fire in his skull. He bit his lip to stop from screaming. And yet, deep inside, something else stirred. Not fear. Not regret. Recognition that the chamber knew him. The crack glowed again, just for a second. Enough to show him what waited on the other side. Shadows moving in the light. Shapes older than stars. Watching, waiting, he stumbled back, heart pounding. Seal pulsed once more, then went dark. The chamber was not fully unlocked. But it was no longer sealed. And Ethan Hawley had become part of it. Ethan's hand still burned from the first contact. His veins glowed faintly under his skin, like molten fire had been stitched into his flesh. The alien guards kept their distance, whispering in fear, as if the human had already become something not entirely human anymore. The forbidden chamber loomed before him. Its black surface pulsed with faint blue light, alive yet silent, as if it were watching him. Ethan clenched his fists, trying to steady his breathing. The alien commander stepped forward. Her tall frame cast a sharp shadow in the sand, her scaled face filled with both fury and dread. "You were not meant to survive that touch," she said in a low voice. "No human, no creature should have." Ethan forced a small smile. "Guess I'm just stubborn." Her golden eyes narrowed. "This is no joke. You are playing with forces older than your species. If you touch it again, it will take you." Ethan looked back at the glowing spiral seal. Maybe that's the point. He stepped closer. The sand crunched beneath his boots. The chamber's hum returned, low and deep, vibrating through his chest. The alien soldiers shifted uneasily, gripping their weapons, but none dared interfere. This time, Ethan placed both hands firmly on the surface. The reaction was immediate. The symbols flared bright, flooding the desert with blue fire. The wind roared. The ground shook violently, and a deep sound like a heartbeat pounded from within the structure. Ethan gasped. The energy did not push him away this time. It pulled him in. His skin tingled, his muscles tightened. His mind filled with visions, strange stars, broken worlds. A war fought long before his birth. He could feel the seal searching him, not his body. His soul. And then came the voice. Not a whisper now. A command. Unlock. The word struck his mind like thunder. His knees buckled, but he did not let go. His fingers sank deeper into the glowing seal, as if the stone itself melted around him. Behind him, the aliens cried out in shock. "The chamber, it accepts him." One shouted. The commander bared her teeth. "No, it tests him." Ethan groaned, sweat dripping from his face. The pull grew stronger, like invisible chains dragging him into the wall. His chest felt heavy, his heartbeat matching the chamber's pulse. He wanted to scream. He wanted to rip his hands free. But something deep inside him whispered that this was not pain. This was a door. And he was the only key. The spiral seal rotated, shifting its glowing lines into new shapes. The crack widened, spilling more light into the desert. From within, shadows writhed long, inhuman forms twisting just beyond sight. The commander rushed forward, her clawed hand grabbing his shoulder. "Enough," she hissed. "If you open it fully, you will unleash them. You don't know what you're doing." Ethan turned his head, meeting her furious eyes. His own eyes glowed faintly blue now, reflecting the chamber's light. "I don't think it's about what I want," he said hoarsely. "It's about what it wants from me." The ground split again, sending cracks racing across the desert floor. The wind howled, carrying strange echoes like screams from another world. The alien soldiers dropped their weapons, covering their ears. One fell to his knees, praying in a broken voice. But Ethan held on. His body shook violently, every muscle strained to the point of tearing. The seal wasn't just draining his strength, it was rewriting him, piece by piece, burning something alien into his very blood. The voice returned. "Unlock or die." Ethan gritted his teeth. "Then let's find out which one." With one final push, he forced his palms deeper into the spiral. The light exploded outward, blinding white, like a star had been born inside the chamber. The alien screamed. The commander shielded her face, her scales burning under the brilliance. Ethan's vision filled with stars endless, burning stars, and at the center, a black sun with a mouth that hungered for worlds. Then the light vanished. Silence fell. Ethan stumbled back, collapsing onto the sand. His chest heaved. His hands were scorched, veins glowing with alien fire. But the seal had changed. The spiral was no longer closed. Half of it had rotated open, like a lock waiting for the final turn. Commander stared at him, her face pale with horror. "You fool," she whispered. "You've passed its first trial. Now it knows you." Ethan forced himself to sit up, his body trembling. His lips curled into a tired, crooked smile. "Good," he muttered, "because I know it too." The chamber pulsed once, as if agreeing. A deep hum filled the air. Not threatening now, but expectant. It wanted more. And Ethan Hawley was the only one who could give it. The desert was still trembling from Ethan's second attempt. The seal now glowed half open, its spiral shifting faintly as if it was breathing. The air carried a sharp metallic taste, and every creature within miles could feel something had changed. Ethan knelt in the sand, his arms shaking, his palms raw and glowing. His chest rose and fell like a man who had just survived drowning. But he was alive. He had touched the chamber twice and lived. That alone made the alien stare at him, like he was no longer human. The commander stepped closer, her scaled armor catching the dim blue light. Her golden eyes were not just angry now. They were afraid. "You don't understand what you've done," she said. Her voice was low, trembling, as if speaking too loudly might wake the thing inside. Ethan smirked, though his lips quivered from exhaustion. "Yeah? Why don't you explain it then?" She crouched down in front of him, close enough that he could see the scars along her jaw. "Because the truth will break you. You are not unlocking a chamber, you are unchaining a prison." Her words sliced through the silence. The alien soldiers shifted nervously, avoiding Ethan's eyes. Some whispered prayers. Others backed away, dragging their weapons across the sand. Ethan forced himself to stand. His body swayed, but his voice was steady. "If it's a prison, then what the hell did they lock inside?" The commander's jaw clenched. For a moment, she said nothing. Then, finally, she leaned in and whispered, "Something older than your son. Something that eats stars. My ancestors swore their lives to keep it sealed. And now—" Her eyes narrowed, glowing faint. "With fury, now a human dares to open it." The chamber pulsed, as if listening. Ethan looked back at the glowing crack in the spiral seal. He thought of the whispers in his head, the visions of burning skies and black suns. He shivered. "You mean those shadows I saw?" he muttered. Commander froze. Her claws dug into the sand. "You saw them?" Ethan nodded slowly. They were waiting, watching, hungry. The aliens behind her hissed in fear, their bodies curling back. The commander bared her teeth at him. "Then it has already begun. The chamber marks those who touch it. You cannot escape it now. Even if you run, it will follow. Until it devours you, or you set it free." Ethan clenched his fists. "Then tell me why it responds to me. Why not you? Why not any of your kind?" The commander's face hardened. "Because humans were chosen." Her words echoed in the night air. Ethan frowned. "Chosen by who?" She looked at the seal, her voice heavy. "By the builders. The ancients who forged this prison. They created a key. Not a tool, not a machine, but a species. A living key, humans. That is why your kind was scattered among the stars, why you were spared when others were destroyed." Ethan's blood ran cold. "You're saying humans exist just to open this thing?" She nodded grimly. "Yes, you were never meant to rule. never meant to conquer, only to unlock. That is your curse. The words stung. For a long moment, Ethan stood in silence, his thoughts racing. He wanted to deny it, to laugh in her face. But deep down, something inside him whispered that she wasn't lying. The chamber pulsed again, brighter this time, as if agreeing with her. Ethan's veins glowed faint blue. His hands itched with energy, begging to touch the seal again. The commander grabbed his arm, her claws digging into his skin. Listen to me, human. Every time you touch it, the prison weakens. If it opens fully, there will be no galaxy left to save. We will all be nothing but ash. Her golden eyes met his, and for the first time, Ethan saw not hatred, but desperation. You must resist it, she whispered. Even if it kills you. Ethan pulled his arm free, his jaw tight. He looked back at the chamber, its spiral shifting. Slowly, like a predator breathing in its sleep. I don't think it's going to give me a choice, he said. The wind picked up suddenly, carrying a low hum across the desert. The crack in the chamber widened by itself, just a fraction, and the whispering voices returned louder now, clearer. This time, they spoke not one word, but many. Free us, human, free us. Ethan staggered, clutching his head. The voices clawed at his mind, twisting his thoughts. His vision blurred. He saw stars collapsing, oceans boiling, entire civilizations screaming in fire. He dropped to his knees, teeth grinding. The commander rushed to him, pressing her clawed hand against his back. Fight it, do not listen. But the voices laughed. Inside his skull. Cold, endless laughter. When he opened his eyes again, his pupils glowed the same blue as the chamber. He looked at the alien commander and smiled, not a smile of victory. Not a smile of relief. A smile of someone who was no longer sure he belonged to himself. The Forbidden's chamber pulsed again, each beat louder than the last. And in the silence that followed, one truth was clear. Ethan Hale was no longer just a human. He was becoming the key. The desert was quiet again, but the silence was heavy. The Forbidden's chamber glowed faintly, half unlocked, its spiral seal breathing with a strange rhythm. The light from the crack cut across the sand like a blade, and every living creature kept its distance. Ethan stood with trembling legs, his body still glowing faint blue. His veins throbbed under his skin, as though the chamber's energy had rooted itself inside him. The alien commander and her soldiers watched in silence, their faces a mix of awe and dread. Then something strange happened. The spiral shifted again, slow. Deliberate and glowing symbols spread across the black surface of the chamber. They twisted and rearranged themselves into long lines, forming patterns that stretched high into the night sky. The commander froze. Her eyes widened in shock. No, this is not possible. Ethan squinted, trying to make sense of the shapes. They were not random. They were words. The chamber was writing. The blue light burned brighter, carving glowing letters into the air itself. Ethan's mind buzzed with energy, and suddenly he could read them, not with his eyes. With his blood. The symbols whispered directly into him, echoing in his head. To those who touch the seal. You are the key. To open us is to awaken war. 2. Resist us is to die unfinished. Ethan staggered back, clutching his temples. The words carved themselves into his memory like fire. The commander stepped forward, her voice low, almost trembling. Do you understand what it says? Ethan looked at her, his eyes glowing faintly. Yes, then speak, she demanded. His lips quivered. It says, humans were made for this, chosen to open it. But it also says, if I don't open it, it'll kill me. The aliens hissed, their bodies recoiling. Some shouted in their language, spitting curses. The commander's face hardened. That is the trap. That is how it binds you. It makes you believe you have no choice, but you do. Ethan laughed bitterly, shaking his head. Feels like a pretty bad choice. Unlock a monster, or let it eat me from the inside. The chamber pulsed again, as if mocking him. More symbols blazed across the surface, spreading faster, covering every inch of the wall. The night sky glowed with their light, and then a picture formed. Not just words, images. Ethan's breath caught. He saw a war from long ago, 1,000 worlds burning. Armies of alien races fighting side by side, their weapons useless against a shadow that devoured stars. He saw the builders, tall beings of light, forge the chamber with their own bodies, locking the shadow inside. But at the end of the vision came something worse. Humans, not warriors, not kings, but tools. He saw their ancestors seated across the stars, weak and small, ignored by empires. Not by accident. By design, they had been placed there bred to be the lock's answer. The builders had turned humanity into nothing more than a key. Ethan stumbled back, his heart pounding. We were never free," he whispered. "We've been waiting for this moment since the beginning." The commander growled low in her throat. "Now you see why your kind is dangerous. You are not conquerors. You are not builders. You are slaves to this chamber. And by touching it, you have chained us all." The soldiers shouted again, some raising their weapons toward Ethan. The commander raised her claw, stopping them, though her hands shook. "No," she said. "If he dies now, the chamber may awaken on its own. It has already chosen him. Killing him will only feed it." Ethan stared at the glowing wall, his fists clenched. His whole life, his species' whole history, suddenly felt like a lie. Every struggle, every victory, meant nothing if they had been born only to serve this prison. The chamber pulsed one final time, and the symbols rearranged into a single line of light. Ethan read it, his voice cracking as the words left his lips. "When the key awakens, the prison shall open. When the prison opens, no galaxy survives." The light seared into the sky before fading. The symbols vanished, leaving only the crack in the spiral glowing faintly. The silence that followed was worse than any noise. The commander's voice was sharp and cold. "Now you understand. You were never here to save anyone. You were brought here to finish what your creators started." Ethan's hands shook. Rage burned in his chest, mixed with fear. "No," he muttered. "I don't care what they wanted. I'm not their tool. I'm not anyone's key." But even as he said the words, the chamber pulsed again. His veins lit up brighter, answering its call. The commander saw it and whispered darkly, "You may not want to be the key, but the chamber doesn't care." Ethan closed his eyes, fists clenched, as the voices returned inside his skull. This time they did not whisper. They sang, "Unlock, unlock, unlock." And Ethan Hawley knew whether he liked it or not. The chamber would never stop calling him. The chamber no longer whispered. It demanded. The crack in the spiral seal glowed brighter, and the ground under Ethan's feet trembled like a beast stirring in its sleep. The air grew heavy, pressing against his chest with invisible weight. Ethan staggered, clutching his head. His veins lit up blue again, brighter than before, burning like fire under his skin. The commander's voice rang sharp through the chaos. "It is testing you. Stop before it takes your life." But Ethan could not stop. The pull was too strong. The chamber wanted more, and his body was already answering. He raised his hands, trembling, and placed them back on the surface. The pain hit instantly. A scream tore from his throat as his palms fused to the glowing spiral. His body jerked violently, as energy surged through him, searing every nerve. It was like molten metal was being poured into his veins. The alien soldiers watched in horror. Some shouted for him to release himself. Others begged the commander to kill him before it was too late. But the commander did not move. She only watched, her eyes wide, her jaw tight. She had seen warriors broken by this test. None had survived. Ethan's knees buckled, but he refused to fall. His face twisted in agony, his teeth grinding until blood filled his mouth. The chamber pulsed harder, Visions slammed into his mind, worlds burning, oceans boiling, stars collapsing into black holes. He saw millions screaming, shadows swallowing galaxies whole. The builder's voice thundered inside him. Prove you are the key. Endure or die. Ethan roared, his voice raw. I'm not your slave. The energy surged even harder, punishing his defiance. His skin blistered, his arms glowing like molten glass. His heart pounded so hard he thought it would burst. The commander took a step forward, her clawed hand reaching for him. Let go, human. You cannot win this fight. But Ethan's eyes snapped open, and they burned with blue fire. I don't. Let go, he growled through gritted teeth. I never let go. The chamber screamed, a sound so loud and deep it rattled bones. Sand whipped into the air in violent spirals, and the stars above flickered as if the sky itself was afraid. The spiral seal rotated further. The crack widened, spilling blinding light across the desert. The soldiers fell to their knees, covering their faces, praying desperately. Some wept. Others pressed their heads into the sand, waiting for the end. But Ethan stood there, shaking, half-broken, refusing to release his hands. Blood dripped from his nose. His skin split at his arms. Yet, still he endured. The builder's voice echoed again. You were made for this pain. Only through suffering can the prison open. Only through your flesh can we be free. Ethan's teeth clenched. His voice was hoarse but defiant. Then you'll never be free. Because I'll take every ounce of pain you throw at me. The chamber roared in fury. Energy erupted from the crack, engulfing him in pure white fire. His scream echoed across the desert, but still he did not let go. The commander's eyes widened. She had never seen this before. Not endurance dashed defiance. Slowly, the fire dimmed. The roaring faded. Ethan collapsed to his knees, smoke rising from his scorched hands. His skin was cracked, glowing faintly like molten stone, but he was alive. The spiral seal now stood 3/4 open. The chamber pulsed once, slower now, almost respectful. The commander stared at him in disbelief. Her voice was low, awed, and afraid. No one has ever passed the test of pain, no one. Ethan lifted his head, his eyes burning with faint blue light. His voice was weak, but steady. Then, maybe it wasn't meant for anyone else. The soldiers whispered in terror, calling him cursed, calling him chosen, calling him the end of all things. The commander stepped closer, her golden eyes locked on his. You've proven yourself too. The chamber, but at what cost? Look at your hands, you are not human anymore. Ethan looked down. His palms still glowed, cracks of light pulsing inside his flesh. They looked less like hands and more like living stone. He closed them into fists. Doesn't matter. I'll decide what I am. Not this prison, not the builder's me. The commander's gaze softened for just a moment, but then hardened again. You think you control it, but the more you fight it, the more it becomes you. Soon, you won't be Ethan Hawley. You'll be nothing but the chamber's key. Ethan stood, unsteady but defiant. His chest rose and fell heavily, but his eyes never left the glowing spiral. The chamber pulsed again, its crack alive with shifting shadows. Something moved within, something vast, something waiting. The commander whispered darkly, the test was not to see if you could open it. The test was to see if you would survive long enough to obey it. Ethan's fists tightened. He stared at the chamber, his voice steady despite the pain. Then it's going to be disappointed, because I don't obey. The desert wind rose, carrying his words into the night. The chamber pulsed one last time, louder than a heartbeat, shaking the ground beneath them all. The test was over, but the war it promised was only beginning. Asterisk. The desert was silent again, but it was not peace. It was the silence before a storm. The chamber's spiral stood 3/4 open, now, its crack wide enough to spill beams of white-blue light across the sand. The glow painted Ethan's face, highlighting the burns and glowing veins under his skin. His hands no longer looked fully human. Light pulsed from the cracks in his flesh like veins of molten stone. The alien commander kept her distance, her golden eyes locked on him. The soldiers whispered nervously, some lowering their weapons, others raising them again, as if killing him might still save them. Then the ground shook. From deep within the chamber came a sound, not a whisper this time, not even the roar from before. It was breathing. A slow, heavy breath that rattled the air and stirred the sand into spirals. Ethan's heart hammered. He stepped closer. The commander hissed, "Don't. Do not look inside." But he had to, the light pouring from the crack shimmered, bending the air like heat waves. Shapes moved behind it, vast shadows slithering against the glow. For a moment, Ethan thought he saw wings, then claws, then 1,000 eyes staring back at him. And then a face. Not human. Not alien, something beyond either. A shape so massive it filled the chamber wall. Its skin like black glass, its eyes like burning stars. Ethan staggered back, breath caught in his throat. The thing inside the prison was alive. The commander shouted, her voice filled with fear. "Now you see it. That is what the builders locked away. That is what waits beyond." The chamber pulsed, and the voice filled Ethan's mind again. Louder, clearer. "You are the key. Only you can free us. We waited for your blood. We waited for your hands." Ethan fell to his knees, clutching his head. The voices clawed at his skull, showing him visions of what would come if he obeyed. Stars devoured, planets broken, galaxies turned to ash. But mixed within the horror came something else. Power. Strength beyond imagining. He saw himself standing above worlds, his glowing hands tearing armies apart, entire civilizations kneeling before him. The chamber wasn't just offering freedom to what lay inside. It was offering him a throne. Ethan gasped, sweat pouring down his face. He forced the visions away. "No, I'm not your weapon. I'm not your slave." The voice thundered back, shaking the desert. "You cannot resist. You were made for this. You are ours." The commander stepped forward, her claws trembling. "This is why we begged your kind never to come here. The prison does not just hold the monster, it tempts the key. It will twist you until you are no different from what it holds." Ethan looked at her, his eyes glowing faintly blue. His voice was raw. "Then why am I still me?" She shook her head. "For now. But every second you touch it, every time it pulls your blood, it takes another piece of you. Look at your hands, look at your veins. You are already changing." Ethan stared down. The cracks in his skin pulsed again, brighter, like the chamber's heartbeat now lived inside him. He clenched his fists. "No," he muttered. "I won't be your key." But the chamber answered with a pulse so strong the soldiers screamed. The spiral rotated another fraction, the crack widening further. The air filled with a deep vibration that shook their bones. Ethan stumbled back, shielding his eyes as the light grew unbearable. For a heartbeat, he saw it clearly. Inside the chamber stood not one creature, but many. Tall, twisted figures bound in chains of light, their eyes burning like suns. They writhed and clawed against their bindings, shrieking in voices only he could hear. "Free us, human. Free us and become more than flesh. Free us and become eternal." The commander roared, grabbing Ethan by his collar, forcing him to meet her gaze. "Listen to me, human. Whatever you saw, whatever it promised, it is a lie. The builders did not make you a king. They made you a lock, and locks are not meant to rule. They are meant to be broken." Her claws dug into him, her voice shaking with both fury and desperation. "If you keep opening it, there will be no beyond, no tomorrow. Only the end of everything." Ethan shoved her back, his breathing ragged, his voice hoarse. "Then tell me what I'm supposed to do. It won't stop pulling me in. It won't stop calling my blood. If I fight it, it hurts. If I obey, it destroys everything. So what the hell do I choose? The commander stared at him for a long moment, her chest heaving. Then her expression softened into something Ethan had never seen before. Pity. You do not choose, she whispered. It chooses you. The chamber pulsed again, and the crack widened just enough for a blast of wind to roar out, knocking soldiers off their feet. The air smelled of burning stars. Ethan staggered, his glowing hands trembling, his eyes wide with horror, because for the first time, he realized the commander might be right. Maybe it didn't matter what he wanted. Maybe. The chamber had already chosen. The night sky above the desert had turned strange. Stars flickered as if shivering. The moon's light bent unnaturally, and the sand itself glowed faintly blue from the chamber's pulse. The spiral seal now stood almost completely open. Just one final turn remained. Beyond the crack, chains of light rattled as the imprisoned shadows writhed and screamed. Their voices clawed inside Ethan's head, promising him everything. Free us, human. Free us, and you will never die. Free us, and all worlds will kneel. Ethan dropped to his knees, his glowing hands pressed into the sand. His chest rose and fell violently, his body breaking under the chamber's power. The burns on his arms had spread across his shoulders, his skin splitting with blue light. He was more fire than flesh now. The alien commander stood a few feet away, her golden eyes burning, her claws shaking. She had faced warlords, beasts, and gods, but she had never feared anything the way she feared the man before her. Ethan. Halle, she said firmly, her voice almost lost in the storm of voices. You must resist. If you finish what you started, none of us will live to see tomorrow. Ethan lifted his head, his eyes glowing brighter than ever. You don't understand. It's not asking anymore. It's forcing me. The chamber pulsed again, and Ethan screamed as the voices drilled deeper into his mind. Visions ripped through him, armies bowing, empires burning, his hands holding the universe like a weapon. He felt the hunger inside the chamber. And worse, he felt it inside himself. The commander rushed forward, grabbing his arm. Her claws dug into the glowing cracks in his skin. She winced at the burning heat but did not let go. Listen to me, human. She shouted over the roar of the chamber. You are not just the key. You are the hand that decides if the lock should open. That choice is yours, not the prison's. Her words cut through the storm for a moment. Ethan's breath slowed, his eyes flickering between blue fire and his natural brown. He stared at her, his voice trembling. If I lock it again, if I fight it, it'll kill me. The commander's grip tightened. Better you die a human than live as its monster. The words struck him harder than the pain. He looked at her, seeing not hatred but truth. For the first time, someone wasn't calling him chosen, cursed, or savior. She was just calling him human. And he realized that mattered. The chamber pulsed. Harder, furious. The crack widened another inch. Chains inside snapped, one by one, filling the air with the sound of breaking stars. The shadows screamed louder. Ethan staggered to his feet, his body trembling like it was about to explode. His fists clenched, burning brighter than the desert sun. He faced the chamber, his voice hoarse but steady. If I open you, everything dies. If I fight you, maybe I die, but I'd rather die as me than live as you. The commander's eyes widened. She whispered, You choose death. Ethan smirked weakly. No, I choose freedom. With a roar, he slammed both glowing fists into the chamber, not to open it, but to seal it. The desert erupted. Light exploded outward, blinding, flooding the horizon. The soldiers screamed and fell flat, shielding their faces. The commander was thrown back, crashing into the sand. The chamber howled, a sound that shook the stars themselves. The shadows inside shrieked in rage as the spiral twisted back, slowly closing. The chains of light reforged, binding the creatures once more. Ethan screamed, his body burning, his veins bursting with fire. The chamber resisted him with everything it had. But he pushed harder, his human defiance stronger than any design of the builders. The spiral locked. The light vanished. Silence. The desert was still. The chamber stood closed once more, its surface dead and dark. The soldiers lifted their heads. Slowly, their eyes wide in disbelief. The commander staggered to her feet, staring at the silent wall. Then she looked at Ethan. He stood frozen, his arms still pressed against the chamber, smoke rising from his body. His glowing veins dimmed. His shoulders slumped. And then he fell. The commander ran to him, kneeling in the sand, pulling his body onto her lap. His chest barely rose. His eyes flickered open, faint and weak. You sealed it," she whispered, her voice almost breaking. Ethan managed a weak smile. "Told you, I don't obey." His eyes closed. His body went still. The commander froze, staring at the silent human in her arms. For a moment, the desert was quiet, but then the chamber pulsed. Just once. Slow, deep, like a heartbeat returning. The commander's golden eyes widened in horror. She looked down at Ethan, her claws trembling. His body was still, but the cracks in his skin glowed faintly once more. The chamber had not released him. It had claimed him.